This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this. This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this. This is the time to stand up now. We can't carry on like this.
So there I was, minding my own business like I do. And with my address now being, and where I live being, news, as in, you know, everyone now knows where I live. Thanks to one of Neil Wilby and his mates and Sean Fielding plastering, being involved in plastering my front door all over the internet. And I was expecting, something not quite nice being posted through the letterbox. I live in a block of flats, so someone else would have picked the mail up and got it. But no, you know what I got? You know what I got posted through the letterbox? I got a little memory stick. So I played it. I was thinking, and even then I was thinking, it's going to be dodgy. It'll be something, it'll either be some evidence for something which I've had before in one way or another shared with me, or it'll be something horrific and dodgy. So with trepidation, I played it. And I'm a bit annoyed with myself really, because I've tried to save this so you can see it the way I see it, and it's not working. The subtitles aren't coming across, but by the time we get it on YouTube, the subtitles will be there.
Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we have a lot to defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phony, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you against you in the cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feeling we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you can shoot the cold, overgrown, postal throwing, barefaced lies. Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Won't somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit in the cold, overgrown, postal throwing, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit in the cold, overgrown, postal throwing, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit in the cold, overgrown, postal throwing, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit in the cold, overgrown, postal throwing, barefaced.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Epic, epic, absolutely epic. This is the 18th, it is the 18th of April 2021. We're rocking up towards election day, and that masterpiece landed. I spent an hour deciphering the lyrics, opening up Final Cut Pro, which someone has kindly helped me buy, and I played it, and it's so annoying because it's not coming up, the lyrics, the subtitles aren't coming up. So I'm gutted, honestly. I am. I'm gonna. Clearly, my expertise is pressing the wrong button, and it's not bringing it up. But it is absolutely brilliant. Once you hear the lyrics yourself properly, and you can see, you can follow them properly. It's a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece. I am going to upload it onto YouTube when I can. And I'm going to do that with... this is the reason why. When we put that Barefaced Lies YouTube video up, probably about 9 months ago, it was just Sean Fielding saying, it was all barefaced lies. And then I put the list of child sex exploitation and child sex abuse convictions and crimes in Oldham over the last couple of years. And of course, it wasn't barefaced lies, but what they did, what the council did, because I can't see it being anyone else who did it. They went and did something with the Google algorithms. And if you type in barefaced lies in YouTube, what comes up is Sean Fielding's explanation of what he retrospectively is claiming he meant. We all know he's talking nonsense. He is talking absolute garbage, because anyone who was there that day and in the build-up and in the aftermath of that, his barefaced lies reference was specifically to do with claiming I had made things up. Hey, Sean, where's that child abuse, child sex exploitation report of yours? Why has it been kicked into touch after the election, Sean? You keep doing it, don't you? You moron. You take the people of our town for fools. We all know the Labour Party, because it's the Labour Party across the country blatantly covering up child sex exploitation, because it controls, it secures your cartel-controlled Asian bloc vote. We all know what's going on and why your mate Andy Burnham, who gave your girlfriend a job, and Beverly Hughes, Baroness Beverly Hughes, has quietly said, oh, this investigation, you'll report after the elections. Yeah, we know. I'm going to try it again in a bit and bring up the screen, and maybe it'll work and you can see what I see on my screen. I'll do that because I really want to share it with you properly. Anyway, let's get on with today. Please, these transmissions are only possible with your kind support. You'll see at the bottom of the screen there's a Buy Me a Coffee link, so buymeacoffee.com/Recusant 9. Please, if people can buy me a coffee, I'm always grateful. I don't know what to say. The kindness and gratitude I receive to keep these transmissions going humbles me each time, and the anger and animosity from those who stand against us, who want to censor me, who want to silence me, who want me to feel embarrassed or ashamed that I am on this journey with the people of my town, and the people of my town are on this journey alongside me and with me. I'm not going to be embarrassed or ashamed of that, ever. So, if you can, please. Also, the YouTube algorithms work. And sorry, guys, I was a bit disappointed last week. Maybe I didn't do it well enough. But the likes were a bit low. I mean, there's 75 people on my screen right now watching this, and 16 of you have clicked the like button underneath. And if you haven't, what happens is the YouTube doesn't recommend a video, and then the videos get lost. And the only way we grow the audience and get people to know what's going on in our town is by the algorithms, which is why Will B. Fielding and all the others have been desperately trying to censor me on YouTube. That's why they've been trying to censor me on YouTube, trying to get me off YouTube, is because the longer I stay on YouTube, the longer this message gets out, the more people in other towns and cities across this country see what we are doing in our northern town in Oldham. A working class group of people are doing in Oldham, and it will encourage them, it will embolden them, it'll give them courage to stand up, to fight for their children and to fight for their communities. And they are petrified. They are petrified of what is taking place here in our town with us. They can't stand it. And that's why it's vital, if you can, subscribe to the channel. It's all free. We now transmit free, and the ask is, if you can support, if you can't support financially, like the videos or subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a simple ask. I'll say some evenings. I've got to put him up first. Do you know what he had me doing yesterday? He phones me up on Thursday night And I'm thinking, great, what's for tea on Thursday night? Is it this? Is it that? And there's usually, I'm not really a lamb eater, so I'll eat chicken and I eat the vegetarian food that Moyab does at Jasori. But he phones me up at Thursday night. What are you doing Saturday, Raj? I normally see my daughter on Saturday. Why? What's up? Can you run a market for me? Like, can I do what? Saturday morning, I get out of bed at quarter to 6. I'm out of bed, and at 7 o'clock, I'm setting up. And bear in mind, I've never done this in my life. I'm setting up a market to sell tiffins of food. And do you know where I'm setting up the market? I'm in Charlton. I'm in Charlton setting up a market. It was entertaining. But what I really did enjoy was just talking nonsense, which according to some people is what I do here. But you're listening, so I'm grateful. Okay, let's get on with today. Let me get on with the serious stuff, because there's always serious stuff to get through, isn't there? Sheila, I'll work out a way of sharing it so everyone can have it. I'll put it up on YouTube, iTunes, whatever. I'll work it all out and I'll get it shared, because I think it's brilliant. Okay, kind of gone unnoticed. On the 13th. So what's that? That's Tuesday. Yeah. On the 13th. Quickly appeared and quickly disappeared. Failsworth man in court accused of child sex offences. You've all known about the CSE issues we've been dealing with in terms of Failsworth School, and how children were sexually abused by teachers in Failsworth School and other staff in Failsworth School, and the governor's covered it up. The council covered it up. And I've been saying this for months and months and months. And the council are trying to avoid dealing with this, because it means that some of them will likely have to go to prison, because they were complicit in allowing teachers who'd abused children to continue teaching. That's essentially what had happened in Failsworth. So this is the first of the men that the news came out. Now, I don't know if it's a teacher or not. I'm not going to say any of that, or if it's anywhere linked to Failsworth School, but there's clearly an issue in Failsworth. A Failsworth man has appeared in court to face 3 charges of sexual offences against children. Raymond Carpenter faced allegations dating back from June and July last year. The 40-year-old attempted to communicate with a 13-year-old in a sexual manner over Facebook during both of these months. He is further alleged to have incited a 13-year-old girl to engage in sexual activity by performing a sexual act on herself. So you can see, dirty, yeah. Dirty man. And it appears in the Oldham Times. And I'm thinking, credit to Oldham Times. There you go, you put it in there, guys. Bland image of the court. Failsworth man in court accused of sexual offences. And the next day, another article comes up, and if you didn't know any better, you'd think it was the same guy. But it wasn't the same guy. It's another guy. So on the next day, Stephen Blake appears in Manchester and Salford Magistrates Court. 12-year period, he downloaded 777 Category A images of children. That's the worst horrific kind. That's the type that Rod Blythe, Councillor Rod Blythe, downloaded. And that's the type that Councillor Martin Judd faces trial for, accused of downloading. Okay? So this is the worst kind. Further alleged, during March last year, he possessed a single prohibited image of a child, 36-year-old, 2 counts of attempting to facilitate sexual activity with children under 13 between February and March last year. So there's 2 of them, back to back, and if you didn't know any different, you'd think it was the same one. So I find that really puzzling, why the Oldham Times would report it like that. And I've knocked them, but at least they've reported it. Where is it in the Oldham Chronicle? Where is it in the councils? Yeah, nothing. No, nothing whatsoever. My friend Billy asked me to share this. I think I would ask every one of you to log on and sign this petition, please. It is so vital that we support victims. We want a restraining order on survivors of abuse. So when these scumbags are released from prison, barely doing anything near their sentences that they were convicted for, they end up living back in the very communities where they'd raped, groomed, gang raped, sold these children. As if these young people, as if these young women haven't gone through enough. They shouldn't be allowed to settle anywhere near these people. So there's a 30-mile law. We're all campaigning for it. Every one of us involved in this work are campaigning for it. So please have a look. And if you can, sign the petition, because we think it's vital. I think Billy, is at Page UK, his work and the work that him and his team do, they've kept so many of our children safe, and their story in Rochdale is one to be admired. So please, I said to Billy when he dropped me a message and said, would you do this? I said, of course I'd do this. You don't even have to ask, just send me the link. And of course I've signed it myself, and I said I'd encourage every one of you to sign it as well. So that is that. I think it is. I think you've answered the question yourself. Of Caroline, I think you've answered the question yourself. Why use the same photo? I don't get that. Why hide it? I think you got that. It was to hide it. I don't think it was anything other than that. It was to downplay it, it was to hide it. And it's what this town has been doing for over a decade. And my issue is the more we hide it, the more it allows the perpetrators to continue. By raising awareness is how we stop this. By educating our young people is how we stop it. By educating those who are tasked with safeguarding them, that if they should come forward, that they won't be sacked as a consequence of raising alarm bells against what tends to be more powerful colleagues. Thank you. I'm up to 39 likes. I'm just looking at my screen. So there's about half of you are watching who have liked it. So, or less than half of you, which is, I'll take that as a win for today. Okay. We've got to do this, and I didn't want to do this, but I have no choice really. I wanted to be positive with some other bits, but let's go on with this. So the Manchester Evening News, and you can see her name there, Charlotte Green, straight away, local democracy reporter. You all know what I think of Charlotte Green and her agenda. So here she is. Let me get that right. And she's going through all the candidates. And it's important. I think this is really, really important, because the subtlety of language really, really matters in what's going on here, because it frames how people perceive what's taking place. So first of all, the first thing she makes reference to, a key battleground for May the 6th will be Failsworth West Ward, in which incumbent council leader Sean Fielding will be seeking to defend his seat for Labour. He is being challenged by the Failsworth Independent Party, the Liberal Democrats, Conservatives and previous councillor Warren Bates, who is standing as an independent. The omission of Mark Wilkinson's name is not accidental. The omission of his name is intentional. It is to downplay the fails of independent party. It's to, it's intentional. She's bright enough. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's avoided the main person's name, and she's mentioned Warren Bates on purpose because the Labour Party's strategy in Failsworth West is to split the vote, and they desperately hope Warren will get some votes. And I ain't got an issue with Warren. I will speak to Warren regularly, but he's been named here in the way he has on purpose, and Mark hasn't been named on purpose. This is intentional. If that wasn't intentional, let's carry on to the next one. In Coldest Ward, incumbent and joint deputy Abdul Jabbar is standing for re-election for Labour, but is being challenged by former Labour councillor and now independent candidate Montaz Ali Azad. So far, so good. This is where it gets interesting. Mr. Azad had the Labour whip withdrawn in 2016 after a Home Office investigation found his former company had employed 3 illegal workers. True, until you understand the context. But there's 2 issues here for me. One is, there is no reference ever, I'll put myself on the screen for this. Charlotte Green, you're a disgraceful, sorry excuse for a journalist. The day you and I meet will be the day you leave screaming and crying, not because I'll physically do anything to you, but because I'll give you a piece of my mind in front of you, so I can tell you to your face what I think of you. You're a disgrace. Your actions have protected paedophiles and paedophile politicians and covered up for the grooming and gang rape of my town's children. And for that, you can never be forgiven. Now, what Charlotte Green completely avoided, and her newspaper, the Manchester Evening News and the Oldham Chronicle and the Oldham Times and all the other interconnected papers that the council hid how much they funded until it was forced out of them, the best part of £1 million. Never mind hiring all of the old journalists who were walking out of these places and needing a job. The council took them on into their communications team at 40, 50, 60,000 pound salaries each, plus expenses. What Charlotte Green omits in that attack on Montaz is 2 things. One is the well-known fact that the illegals he took on, he was forced to, practically blackmailed to take on these illegals, and who they were related to. Everyone in Coldest knows who these illegals were, who they were related to, as in which councillors, which other councillors they were related to, and why Montaz had to take them on. And of course, this opens up that space none of them want to go to, which is all about the cartels. And then what she omits is fine. You want to talk about that, about Montaz. Why is it? Is it not in the public interest, Charlotte Green, that the deputy leader of Oldham Council, Abdul Jabbar, launched his re-election campaign alongside a convicted sex offender? Is that not in the public interest? Should that not be reported? The deputy leader of Oldham Council, Abdul Jabbar, launched his re-election campaign alongside a convicted sex offender, and that convicted sex offender was a former Labour Party candidate in Coldhurst, former mosque, chairman of Oldham Central Mosque, and the council refused to investigate, even though in his declaration of interest he described himself as a teacher. So why is one news and the other not? I think all of you know. Same again in Shaw. Liberal Democrat councillor Howard Sykes is running for re-election against Labour, the Conservatives, and hyper-local party proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. Why is there nothing here, Charlotte Green, about how Howard Sykes is dodging questions dodging questions on his relationship with the prolific child abuser Cyril Smith, his self-declared friend? And why is there nothing about the scandal in Shaw of Rod Blythe, Councillor Rod Blythe, who was convicted for child sex offences, and that you and your newspapers kept hidden? And this word, hyperlocal, is intended to demean my friends at Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. Hyperlocal, as in we only care about local issues or hyperlocal issues. I've spoken to every one of the candidates. Every one of them has views and opinions on matters that concern all of us across the town. Hyperlocal. The new party is contesting 8 wards in the borough after first fielding candidates in the 2019 general election. This is council-funded propaganda, which is why independent platforms such as what I transmit on are vital for this town. Because until we came along and occupied this space, whatever story they told was accepted as the truth. So let me get to something. Just give me 1 second. I have got to no, it's not worked that way. Just give me a second and I will try and make sense of it. I'm trying to play a video, so don't mind me. I'm just trying to.
Some things have come to light
perfect.
over the last couple of days that I think are an insult to the people of this area. On March 6th,
Okay, we got it. We got it going.
hello there, my name is Brian Owen. I'm a Felderth East councillor for the Felderth Independent Party.
Here we go. No, it's not having it. Why is it not doing it? Sorry, my computer screen is churning away, so I don't know what I've done, but okay, so you can see me. If I click on that. How strange. Okay, so that's not working. I'll do it without. I'll play the sound. I think the sound is important. So this is Brian Hoban.
Hello there, my name is Brian Owen. I'm a Felderth East councillor for the Felderth Independent Party. As we come up to the election now, We're trying our hardest to get out and meet everybody, say hello and tell you what we're doing. I'm making this statement because some things have come to light over the last couple of days that I think are an insult to the people of this area. On March the 11th, I posted regarding the upcoming elections and how the Paedos Independent Party and its candidates would continue to work in the manner that we always have, being transparent, honest, visible, available, positive and clean. We're keeping to that standard mainly because we're decent people, we're not politicians, and we respect the residents and regard our community and the work that we do in it as a priority. As you will see from our leaflet that you should all receive shortly, we don't get into attacking any other candidates personally, or the parties. We want you to see our work, our proposals and our hopes for the future. Hopes that many residents share of a nicer, cleaner, more cohesive Failsworth. Unfortunately, we're aware that the other candidates, the other party activists, are not upholding the standards that we're holding ourselves to. Other candidates are claiming to have been bullied and harassed, having personal attacks made on them and their families by Failsworth Independents. There are also accusations of our party being far right and racist. These accusations are all barefaced lies. And the thing that spearheaded this statement today, I've found out that they're attacking an 80-year-old gentleman that we come to know with the hard work that we did in the food hub. They're accusing us, in the 20 weeks that we were administering a food hub looking after Failsworth people, they're accusing us of dishing out food parcels to people that didn't deserve them, to people that weren't worthy of them, and to people that were taking them under false pretense. They've said an 80-year-old man who we got to know, who you may have seen interviewed on Newsnight when they came round to see the work that we was doing. They're accusing him of accepting parcels even though he was fit enough to go to Tesco's apparently 2 days later. This is an 80-year-old man that was suffering from cancer, that was waiting for cancer treatment, that we looked after all through that hub, and they're using him against us and against what we do. It's absolutely disgraceful. There's no evidence of the other allegations, just a nasty undertone from people in positions of power that really should know better. In fact, when I was accused of encouraging a protest outside a councillor's house whilst being in a council meeting, the following day I personally went round to the councillor's house to see his partner that had been party to the abuse that had been hurled at the house, and I had given her a handwritten letter explaining that it was nothing to do with us and how we were sorry for what had happened. They've not mentioned that. They won't mention that. They won't mention the nice things that we do. Our candidates, members and their families have had their livelihoods put at risk by these people. Malicious and vindictive contact made to their employees just for having opposing views or asking questions of councillors. The employers have been told that they were extremists and far-right activists. They've also been accused of being racist. There is a pattern to this, because it was also reported to us last year when the elections were cancelled. Now we have evidence, we have video evidence of what's going on the doorstep, of what these activists and the councillors are smearing us on the doorsteps, speaking to the residents of this area. We have evidence of the domains of fake social media accounts and email accounts, including the IP addresses that they have come from, that point to specific locations. They have posted the most vile personal attacks and accusations to members not just of the party, but of our supporters who have deigned, in their view, to back us. We're compiling that evidence now, and it will be passed to the relevant authorities as we see appropriate, in the hope that the system will deal with the perpetrators as required. We're not going to put it out public unless we really need to. Ironically, one of the main offenders of all this, in his election literature, quoted this quote: "If they attack one personally, it means they have not got a single political argument left." I couldn't put it better myself. After all the years in power and all the years representing this great area of ours, where are the good things for them to point out? Where are the positive things to point out? What are the things for the future that they want to point out? They've got nothing to say other than to have a go at us who are looking to do better for our community. As I've stated before, we're your friends, neighbours and colleagues. We love this area, I want to improve it where we can. We suffer and celebrate in the community with you because we are the community. You've now got a choice on May the 6th to make a difference. A choice to change the status quo and to get the people who are representing you that you want and deserve. Councillors with your interests at heart. To say to those who take your vote for granted and have their own agendas, no thanks, we've had enough. So I'm asking you to vote independent. Right across Oldham, we have some great independent candidates standing that work for their communities and will work for their communities. So if you've got an independent standing in your area across Oldham, please vote for them. In Failsworth, I'm asking you to vote for the Failsworth Independent Party. Remember the name when you go to the polling station. Mark Wilkinson for Failsworth West, Neil Indle for Failsworth East. Together, we'll achieve so much, so please, let's vote for change, let's vote for people that care, and let's get decent councillors looking after you and our area.
Okay, so that was Brian forced to issue a statement. Forced to issue a statement because what these people are doing and continuing to be doing is accusing people of being far-right activists and racist. When they're knocking on the door, they're accusing the Failsworth Independent Party and those who support the Failsworth Independent Party of being far-right activists and racist. Now we know who's knocking on the doors. It's the Labour Party. And we know who the politicians for the Labour Party are. Sean Fielding and what the people call him, BMP Pete, because he was supposed to have alleged to have been involved in handing out leaflets for Nick Griffin and the British National Party whilst he was a taxi driver. I don't know the truth of that. I don't know any about the people of Failsworth tell me that. And the people of Failsworth share that with each other. But how disgraceful are these people? Those of you who've been following me for a while will know that one of the first times I actually ever came across racism in Failsworth was not through any interaction with anyone from Failsworth. It was Sean Fielding's dad claiming that if people saw me walking down the street in Failsworth, they'd cross to the other side. I found that ridiculous. I've never known anyone to cross to the other side because I'd been, muttering to myself whilst I'm walking down it. And if they did, it'd be because I was muttering to myself. It wouldn't be because I was a different colour to them. How can the people of Failsworth be represented by someone who sees his own people in such a negative way? This I posted this last year or the year before, and you'll find it in the extensive Facebook sort of trail from my posts. It's there. The screen grab's there. Sean Fielding's father accused the people of Failsworth of being racist because he believed they saw me walking down the street, they'd cross over. These people are disgraceful. Now put aside that, because they've been going with that for ages. And Brian's a lovely man. He's a dignified man. So is Mark. Both dignified gentlemen. The sort of people I want as my leader. The sort of person I want to vote for. I'm envious. You've got people like Brian standing, a councillor, and Mark standing there. And what you now have, and I'll do what Brian won't do, because I know what my role in this is, so I'll fulfill my role in this. Brian, Mark and the others, during the height of COVID, when the government's food packs were exposed for being disgraceful, These guys were out in Failsworth as members of a food hub, identifying the vulnerable and elderly and helping them, helping their community. They didn't discriminate. They didn't say, who do you vote for first before deciding whether to help them or not? Because where I come from, that's what happens. Ask any of the Asian guys. Who you vote for determines whether you get helped first or last, or even at all. But no, in Failsworth, these guys went out and helped. And one of the guys they helped was an 80-year-old gentleman. And I think for a fleeting moment, he appeared on Newsnight in a really positive way. Here are local people helping and supporting local people. But clearly, Sean Fielding, because of the way he looks at the world, thinks the rest of us look at the world in the same way, and decided that it must be used. Decent blokes like Brian and Mark and all the others who helped in that food hub, they must be doing what they're doing for political motives rather than just rolling up the sleeves and in a time of need helping people in their own community. And what happened was, remember that thing about Sean Fielding writing to the employers of people and repeatedly writing to the employers of people? Sean Fielding, in one of his God knows how many communications, desperate to have Mark Wilkinson sacked from his job, wrote to his boss on the Up Team's time and claimed that the man Mark was helping, he was doing for political reasons. And this grandfather who was suffering from cancer, who is suffering from cancer, an 80-year-old man suffering from cancer, Sean Fielding complained it was bogus and thereby it should adversely affect Mark Wilkinson's career. And then what happens is Sean Fielding claims that this elderly gentleman was seen in Tesco. Listen, you pillock. Because you've never been poor. You don't get it. Poor people don't want to live off handouts. Ale people don't want to, even if he did go and it came out that he didn't go and it's all a lie anyway. But even if an 80-year-old gentleman went to Tesco for his own shopping, is he not allowed? He has some pride. I know what my mother's like. And she's suffering from cancer. She hates being dependent on others. And if she can, she'll try and fend for herself. This bloke would have been no different if this was true, if he went to Tesco. Many poor people don't want to just live off handouts. If they can, they will fend for themselves. But it turns out it was a lie. This poor man's granddaughter has took to social media to defend him. And now Sean Fielding is being evasive with what the truth is. Well, someone who's allegedly been sued, come and sue me. I'm not a candidate. I can say what I think of this man. He's a disgrace. He's not just a disgrace to the people of Oldham. He's a disgrace in particular to the people of Failsworth. Lying about an 80-year-old grandfather with cancer to try and have one of your political opponents sacked from his job after you tried and failed to have his daughter sacked from her job as well. He thinks he's better than him, Paul. That's what he is. He thinks he's better than us. And for the record, I've had family in Failsworth. I've been going to Failsworth since I was 12, 13 years old. I've never encountered racism or prejudice or anything. No. These people, they're vile, vile, vile. And for those who've been asking about the evidence, yes, I've seen the evidence. The council were forced to release the evidence. Sean Fielding actually said these things about a grandfather with cancer in an attempt to have another innocent man sacked from his job. It's disgraceful. It honestly is absolutely. It's just disgraceful. The leader of the council is complaining that an 80-year-old grandfather with cancer during lockdown did not deserve to be helped. Because that's what he's fundamentally saying. And this man is the one who, during the peak of coronavirus, went on holiday for 2 weeks. And whilst he was on holiday, in the other areas of the town where I come from, in the Asian areas, Dale Cregan's getaway driver was being funded by the council to go out with aid to help clean up his image, where he had no regard for social distancing or any of the masks. But Sean Fielding has nothing to say about that. But he wants to attack an 80-year-old grandfather. And no, my outrage isn't just something for the screen. I am genuinely outraged. It required a subject access request from the council to pull out what Sean Fielding had done. And what Sean Fielding had done was write to the employer of Mark Wilkinson, attempting to have him sacked for helping an 80-year-old gentleman. People of Failsworth, the town, the entire town is looking to you, to all of you. It's up to you. You've got to go out and vote. And you've got to go out and vote this imbecile out. It's dangerous. He portrays you as racist and far right when you're not. He portrays you as chavs. He portrays you as somehow less intelligent and less worthy. And now, those good people, and I know Brian and Mark wouldn't talk like this because they're dignified and they're reserved. They're decent men. So I'll talk like this. You've got to take him out. You've got to take Sean Fielding out. Everything that is wrong about the Labour Party is amplified by Sean Fielding. I don't know, Gary. I know what I was taught when I was young. If you're better than someone, you've got to use that bit that you're better by to help people so they can be better as well. Not to look down with contempt. Oh, Yvonne. I'm really sorry. I didn't know. I mean, he's also a way. And that is granddaughter. And I put up the message as his granddaughter. You know, and sorry, my phone's messed up and one iPad hasn't transferred it to the other iPad, so it's not doing what it's meant to do. But I put it up earlier. I saw it and I put it up, and then I got accused by someone that somehow I was using people. I'm not using anyone. I'm outraged that someone's granddaughter is having to defend her grandfather for using a community resource food bank food hub. An 80-year-old cancer-suffering, kidney-failing, elderly gentleman. And the leader of Oldham Council, I challenge any other Labour politician anywhere in the country to defend this. Anyone. They won't. He did, didn't he, Paul? Desperation amused me. I'm off enjoying the sun. Against government advice. Came back and was on full pay for 2 weeks whilst he self-isolated. I'm sorry, Debbie, I agree with you, but I can't put that word up on It's worse than an internet troll. So it's an abuse of power. Because when he contacts people's employers, he does so in the capacity of leader of Oldham Council, on Oldham Council letterhead, on Oldham Council email, and thereby it gives added weight to his complaints. Now, whilst Mark might work in the public sector, my friend Moya works in the public sector, Jane Barker works kind of in the public sector at the university, whilst they have robust complaint processes that the employers have to follow, if you work in the private sector, they'll just sack you. And I'm pretty certain a few people have been just sacked because of Sean Fielding's emails from their jobs. And it took what? 9 months to extract the information? From an open and transparent council. You know, people of my town, the day will come when we take our town back. It'll come. And we'll march every one of them out and send them packing. Every one of them. We'll send them packing. We don't care what their golden handshakes or golden handcuffs or the payouts are. These council officers are complicit in what's taking place. And they need to be marched out once we take control of our town, sent packing, and the police need to be called in and told they have to investigate the corruption and cover up of grooming and child abuse in our town. Yeah, Andrew, I agree with you. I think people have been sacked. She won't cover this, Steve. They are on the payroll. They are on the council payroll, but it's worse. They agree with these people and what they're doing to us. They look on working class people like you and I with utter contempt. We are beneath them. Our only value is a political value through which they can continue their fight with the Tories. We're just a pawn. And the reason he's not been investigated, Mark, is because of Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine, the self-confessed gatekeeper at Oldham Council. I am going to do an exclusive transmission on Detective Inspector Kenny Blaine and his mates of how they conduct their investigations. I'm going to blast it all over YouTube. I'm going to blast it all over Facebook. And you and everyone else who watches it will be left in no doubt as to not just why Greater Manchester Police are in special measures, not just why Andy Burnham should not be in control of the police. No politician should be in control of the police. But you will be left in no doubt as to what a bent copper looks like. And if he isn't bent, then he's the most incompetent inspector I've come across in my life. Detective Inspector. Sometimes, Ian, what happens is you're so used to telling lies and telling lies and telling lies, you have no recollection of what the truth actually is. Excuse me, it's Ramadan and I just need to have a glass of something. So if you just give me 1 second and I will be back. But I will do you all a favour.
Too often, I'll say bare-faced lies. I'll say bare-faced lies. I'll say bare-faced lies. Again, bare-faced lies. Too often, I'll say bare-faced lies. I'll say bare-faced lies. I'll say bare-faced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you really wanna wear it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we would ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phony, bare-faced lies.
Bare-faced lies. Bare-faced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you really wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phony, bare-faced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you really wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phony, bare-faced lies.
Bare-faced lies. Bare-faced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you really wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phony, bare-faced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Will somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy? Oh yeah.
Bare-faced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you really wanna where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the the truth becomes so easy to disguise. You get sugar-coated, overloaded, postal loaded, perfect. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money when you spend it. And you wonder where it's all going, yeah. And you think we ever want to defend it. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get sugar-coated, overloaded, postal loaded, perfect. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money when you spend it. And you wonder where it's all going, yeah. And you think we ever want to defend it. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get sugar-coated, overloaded, postal loaded, perfect. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money when you spend it. And you wonder where it's all going, yeah. And you think we ever want to defend it. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get sugar-coated, overloaded, postal loaded, perfect.
So the artist is Pride, and Pride knew where I lived thanks to Neil Wilby and his friends, and left me a memory stick from which I've extracted that song. I'll put it up and you can all download it. I would love to see it. Yeah, it's a brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I smile every time. Sorry, it was Ramadan, so I had to go and I realised I was 10 minutes late. Okay. I've got a glitch today because I've got something on my phone and then it's not connected to, for some reason it's not sent it to, it's not synced with the iPad that I have here. One day I'll use a camera and I'll show you how I do what I do, but I will post this up in front of you so you see it. There's a story I need to tell, but I'll do it this way. There you go. You can see that, yeah. I put that up on my Facebook, so all of you will see that. And by the time I edit this afterwards, I'll make sure I superimpose the right images on the right thing where I'm talking about. So this guy is called Naz. Yeah, Naz Islam is the candidate for Chadderton North. And he's put there, has his logo, Time for Change. That's not me. That's not me that's done it. That's off his own Facebook page. Time for Change. Now, seeing as the Labour Party have been in control of Oldham for some time, Naz putting up Time for Change, I find rather interesting, because he can't be clearly saying time for change of anything in the town, because the candidate he is for the Labour Party control the town. So I can only presume that what he means is it's time to change North Chadderton. Now, you've all heard of my referencing the expansion of the OBA cartel from its vice-like grip in Coldust and moving into North Chadderton. You all know about my views and opinions on that, and you can see it yourself as the North Chadderton candidates become, councillors become Asianified. And I do have a problem with that. I think the councillors in a community should reflect the rich diversity of a community. I think it was the other way around. And in a exclusively Asian ward, if all the councillors were white, questions would be asked about the absence of diversity. So I don't see why it is any different the other way around. I don't. I actually struggle with the entire concept of identity politics. I think the colour of your skin is irrelevant. But to these people, it is relevant. The Labour Party are toying with the idea of Keir Starmer referenced there about making all Asian, all black shortlists. So, you'll remember Naz from this. I put it up, remember? That's Naz at the front next to Arood Shah, Councillor Mohan, Mohibur Rahman of CSDA, and Jim McMahon, MP, out campaigning. And what you also have, you all now know of, how this was bought. The old Carnegie Library, and how it was bought and made into a Islamic school by Mohibur Rahman. And it's all relevant. It's all relevant, so you bear with me, please. And this guy, the former director. I'm putting these up because people say, oh, he's never got any evidence. He's never got any evidence. Well, none of you do, but, you know, the idiots. Yeah. Former director, convicted of CSDA, convicted of serious fraud. And you all now know that Jim McMahon has moved his office into Chadderton Town Hall. So he's moved his office from the town centre. So the MP for Oldham has moved his office from the town centre into Chadderton Town Hall. Next door to what was this Islamic school, 2 doors away from what is it is now an Asian wedding venue. And what you find is this is the new power base of the OBA cartel. And Naz, with his time for change, can only mean one thing. It's time to change North Chadderton and make it into what they've done in Coldhurst. Now, I'm not being racist saying that, because my issue isn't race. My issue is corruption, it's child abuse, it's sleaze. It's dodgy postal votes, it's anti-cartel. And what these people have done is they've expanded out of Coldhurst, and it's time to change North Chadderton. And the boxes need to be ticked. Businessman with money, we'll go on to that. Chairman of the mosque, of the local mosque in Chadderton, controls lots of votes there. Tick. Friends with Mohibur Rahman of CSDA, of the dodgy Islamic school. Tick. Mates with the other two councillors, or the other councillor, Mohan. You've seen him out there with Mohan. I need to show you this. Let me see if there's a better way I can show you this. It was sent to me, so look, just bear with me 1 second. Because yeah, I think I can show you this. You see that? Councillor Mohan. Guy next to him, some bigwig at the mosque, Labour Party guy. Guy behind, the deselected councillor. Jim there. See the guy with the pink shirt? Cozy with Jim, would you not say? Man who sexually assaulted teenage girls is jailed. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Fu Mia. Sexually assaulted teenage girls. one of the OBA cartel, hanging out with his councillor mate and his MP mate. Have that. At what point does it stop being a coincidence? At what point does it stop being a coincidence? What is the MP? What is a convicted sex offender doing in the middle of a photograph with a councillor from the North Chadderton expansion of the OBA cartel and Jim McMahon, MP, reliant on the bloc Muslim vote from the OBA controlled Coldest? That's him there. Do you see? Epping, Close, Chadderton, North Chadderton, expansion of the OBA cartel into North Chadderton. This is the OBA cartel. The chairman of Oldham Central Mosque, the former chairman of Oldham Central Mosque, that Abdul Jabbar launched his re-election campaign alongside, knowing the guy was a convicted sex offender. And what these people are doing, by standing alongside these people and never condoning them when it comes out. They knew. Sorry, someone's just trying to phone me, but I'm not speaking to right now. People, sorry, my friend should know that when I'm. Yes, Denise. They're disgraceful. They're absolutely disgraceful. They're disgusting. They make me sick. Yeah, have him again. Man who sexually assaulted teenage girls is jailed. Sheikh Mohammed Al Fumia. He's out of prison. I hear he works in a restaurant somewhere. Is it Openshaw somewhere? I think I've got the restaurant details. I'm sure Moyab's got the restaurant details. The OBA cartel expansion into North Chadderton. If this was the first time a sex offender was stood next to Jim, you could say, okay, it was a coincidence, but there's a pattern here. There's a pattern. It's a disgrace. These people are a disgrace. Do you want more? Remember the Carnegie Library? And I brought up that Ofsted had found it inadequate. You know, after Jim McMahon's associate Mohibur Rahman from CSDA had took it over for a fee that the council won't release. Same with the swimming baths and the police, former police station. Do you remember that? And they opened an Islamic school in there. What if I told you that the head teacher, the guy who ran that school, left his wife after grooming not one, but two girls from that school, and he's now married to both of them? Where's your child protection now, you? Hey, McMahon? Coming after me with false pretenses? Where are you now, McMahon? Where are you? Where's your outrage now? You helped sell the former Chariton Carnegie Library, our historical building, to a dodgy businessman whose business partner had been imprisoned months earlier. They turned it into some sort of Islamic school where the head teacher groomed two of the kids and he's now married to them. This is what they want to hide, Merb. The head teacher of the Islamic school groomed two of the girls and married both of them and left his wife. And that Islamic school only exists because McMahon helped sell it to him. Have it again. Come on, Moab, you know where he works. Tell us. I'm not sure where he works, but I know he works in a restaurant in Urmston somewhere. Or, not Urmston, sorry. Urmston's the wrong one. He works in a restaurant somewhere. How many more sex offenders are in the OBA and their ranks? Please, if you don't subscribe to the Recusant 9 channel, I'm not banned on YouTube, not yet anyway, and if I am, I'll find another place and another way to keep bringing the news that I do and the information and the analysis that I do. I think the people of my town find it of value. But please subscribe to the channel. Like the page. I've shared it before and I'll share it again. The reason why I do this is because I've spent my life working with children and young people. Protecting children and young people is what I've done for nearly 30 years of my life. My entire adult career, in fact, my entire career. I find this abhorrent. That Labour Party politicians are so cosy with these sex offenders. I find it disgraceful that the bearded mullahs in my community groom children and then marry 2 of them. And I believe that people like me from this community have an added responsibility to deal with these issues. And I'll deal with the abuse and death threats and all of those things that come from the Pakistani heroin dealers and the dodgy bearded mullahs and their mates. And McMahon and his associates saying they're going to ban me on this, they're going to put me in prison for that. It makes no difference to me. This needs to end. I find it. I really do find it difficult. But there is hope. In the midst of all of this, there is hope. And let me see if I can find a photograph I want to share. So just give me 1 second because I want to do this person justice. There you go. I'm told that Tracy Woodward doesn't like me. It's fine, Tracy. If I read the things about me on the internet, told by a bunch of liars, and if that was the only interaction you had with me, or I had with myself, I wouldn't like me either. Thankfully, I have enough people in the world who know me for who I am and what I've done in my life, rather than the lies McMahon and his mates have told. But Tracy, I support you wholeheartedly. Tracy Woodward is the independent candidate for Chadderton North. I have never met her. I have nothing to do with her. I've read about her a bit. She seems to care about the environment and she cares about the community she comes from. And most of all, she came just short of 1,000 votes last time she stood. People of Chadderton, if you vote Conservative in the past, vote for Tracy. If you vote Lib Dem in the past, vote for Tracy. If you voted Labour in the past and you can't bring yourself to vote for the OBA expansion, cartel expansion into North Chadderton, vote for Tracy. If you've given up voting and you live in North Chadderton, help save your town, help save your community and vote for this woman. It takes immense bravery to stand up. And for those of you, my friends, who've contacted me and said, where are the independents? Why aren't they knocking on my door? No, you're reading it the wrong way around, guys. We should be saying, what can we do to support them? Not why aren't they knocking on my door? We should be amplifying their voices. We should be supporting people like Tracy and all the other independents. We need to fight back. And just as much as Sean Fielding in Failsworth is a key battleground, just as much as Abdul Jabbar in Caldas in a key battleground, in my honest opinion, the biggest battleground to fight against the cartel expansion will take place in North Chadderton. That's my first, I think those are my first coffees for tonight. So I think, you know, if I've earned £10 for an hour and a half, oh, thank you. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for the coffee. I see it exactly the same way, Caroline. It's a disease that's spreading. And let's move on. Let's move on back to Naz. Time for change. You ready, aren't you? You're expecting something, aren't you? Hetherington Property Investment Club. You can see thisismoney.co.uk. It was an attractive proposition. Buy property with no down payment, deposit or fees. But then came an even better one. Up to £50,000 cash back per investment deal. And to top even this, you can build a property portfolio of about £1 million within only 2 years. It was all pretty hard to believe, but these were the claims made in a television commercial. And for the benefit of any cynics watching, the icing of on the cake was the on-screen line of text that said, 100% satisfaction guaranteed with full refund policy. And even this was followed, for the benefit of the completely cynical, by the invitation, join the Property Investment Club now, OFT license number 561669. That's right, sign up to a scheme to invest in property with no money needed, and you could collect £50,000 on every deal, be worth £100 million after just a couple of years, with satisfaction guaranteed or a full refund, and all licensed by the Office of Fair Trading. That's why the OFT license is important. It's all licensed. How come? Of course it was. That was the verdict of the Advertising Standards Authority, which investigated a claim made by the Alternative Finance Group Limited in a TV commercial aimed at Asian viewers. The company told ASA officials it simply offered access to independent financial advisors and that it was up to the investors to source a mortgage or finance required to buy a property. The advertising watchdog labelled the TV commercial unacceptable and misleading, and it ruled the ad must not be shown again in its present form, and the product should be advertised without adequate substantiation for the claims made for it. Okay, so it reads like a scam. Yeah. So this company uses a Manchester address as its registered office, But curiously, it uses a Sheffield address on the internet, together with a Birmingham telephone number. Manchester address as its registered office, Sheffield address on the internet, Birmingham telephone number. You all following? And when you take a closer look on its OFT license, things get even murkier. For the license, which allows the holder to offer or arrange consumer credit, to act as a credit reference agency, and to carry out debt collecting, does not belong to the Alternative Finance Group Limited at all. According to the OFT, the license is in the name of a company called Al Wafiq Finance and Investment. Real trading offices are said to be in Oldham. Al Wafiq is an offshoot of the company criticised by the ASA. It neglected, the Aruj Shah style of neglect. Oh, by the way, I owned an ice cream parlour that I forgot about. So all of it ends up being Alternative Finance, Al Wafiq, really in Oldham? This also turned out not to be a simple question, for the Oldham address belongs to a firm called NAS Commercial Finance and Mortgages, which says it was authorised not by the OFT, but by the FSA. Or is it? Well, sort of. The bit you want to get to. This entire whatever it is a company run by Mohammed Nasrul Islam. Mohammed Nasrul Islam? Is your Labour Party candidate for North Chadderton. I'm presuming you're all on a lag. Nasrul Islam ousted the existing councillor and had a victory party. And at the victory party, in attendance was Aruj Shah, Shahid Mushtaq, Councillor Sean Fielding. Oldham's Labour Party top table endorsed this man. The OBA cartel want to take over North Chadderton. Every sleaze, disease, corruption, cover-up that they've mastered in Coldust, they want to take into North Chadderton. He's the chairman of the mosque. I don't think I'll be welcomed anymore. It's the mosque at the bottom of my mum's street. I go for Eid prayers, usually. I stopped going to the OBA. I mean, I'll tell you this whilst I bring myself up properly. I stopped going to the Oldham Central Mosque after an Eid prayer where the Imam spent his time. And Eid is like, the sermon at Eid is like the sermon at Christmas. It's a time of joy and happiness and charity and remember those we've lost and all of that sort of, nice stuff, nice things about religion. The bloody Imam spent his time telling us about how not to look at the girls' bottoms and how girls who wear tight pants or low cropped clothes, we have a responsibility to tell them not to. I've never stepped foot in that mosque since. I don't think I'll be allowed in this mosque now. Chairman of the mosque. NAS Finance. I know. Loads of you Asians watch me. I know you do. Loads of you. Don't dare say anything. Don't, apart from Maya Boy and a few of us, don't say anything. You all secretly watch, all of you. What do you think? How about the bloke hanging out with Jim? Convicted sex offender. How can you defend the head teacher of a school grooming and marrying 2 of his students? Does the beard excuse those sins? I'd rather be like this, swigging a bottle of brandy on one hand and a bottle of rum on the other, than being a pedo. You're scumbags. Your silence. When are you going to grow a backbone? When are you going to stand up against Abdul Jabbar, who launched his re-election campaign alongside a convicted sex offender? Time for change. It is a time for change. It is a time for the good people of this town, black, white, Muslim, Christian, whatever. I don't care about the colour of your skin or the religion that you practice or don't. I care whether you're a good person or whether you are on the side of Jim McMahon, Sean Fielding, Abdul Jabbar, Arud Shah, Irish Imi, and this guy, Naz, whatever he's called, Naz Islam. Do you see why they want to have me banned on YouTube? Do you see why they want to have me taken off Facebook? I'm not spreading hate speech here, am I? I care about my town, I care about the people in my town, and I want a better town for all of us. You can buy me a coffee, /Recusant 9. Please, I will appreciate it. I am grateful. It's it's what keeps the channel running. It's what keeps me going and my ability to do this work. I was told about that Muppet Wilby recently said I have all this fancy equipment. Trust me, I don't have any fancy equipment. It's begged, borrowed or stolen. And the bits I managed to buy I've bought as cheaply as possible. The one bit I've spent some money on is the mic, because of those of you who remember earlier on, the sound was too low. So I had to go out and buy a better mic. The battleground against the cartels is in North Chadderton. Please. Please stop the cartel expansion. Please go out and vote. I had more, but I can't use it today. I can't do it today because I need a screen and it's not synced. So it'll come on for next week. But I'm sure you've got enough. You can see the pattern. It's repeated time after time after time after time. It's gone dark. I've not left my house today, actually. After a full day outside, I've not made it out. Thanks, Mark. You're a new supporter. Mark Harrison bought you 5 coffees. Thank you very, very much, Mark. Now it's gone dark. I'll go out and get some food, I think, is what I plan on doing. I needed to say, didn't I? I saw that one of the questions come up earlier. And the question was about the police calling me back last week. They called me back several times. He sent me a text message. I had a text exchange. It was Detective Inspector Andy Day. And in the end, I had... Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Jill. Very grateful. In the end, I had a very decent conversation with Detective Sergeant Andy Day. I know he's got a job to do, but you could see he was genuinely also concerned. He was concerned for my well-being. I don't know. He'd interviewed me. He'd sussed me out when he, once people meet me, they can work out what I am or what I'm not, regardless of what powerful politicians say I am. And in the 3 hours where they interviewed me, I think it was very clear what my agenda was. I'm as transparent as that. Now, what took place with Andy was just an exchange, really, and again, the reinforcement of what Wilby was doing. And the information I took from Andy Day was that decisions aren't static. And what was decided before can be changed. And I think that's important. I think it's important because you've all would have seen the post I put up earlier in the week of where Wilby is now claiming I've been beaten up outside a burger bar because of this, because of what I do. I've been beaten up by a gang of Asian men outside a burger bar. Now, the falsehood of being beaten up outside a burger bar is the irrelevant bit. It's not true because I don't go to burger bars. But the bit that was important was Wilby then continued to say, and after I'd been beaten up, the police decided not to do anything. Sorry, Sergeant Andy Day, Debbie. Sorry. Detective Sergeant. The bit that was important from Wilby was that after I had been beaten up, the police decided not to act. Now, when you add that on everything else this man has said and claimed about me, what that means is a gang can come and attack me, can beat the shit out of me, and the police will not take action. This man is inciting my murder and is being supported by Labour Party politicians, including that sleazy woman, Jenny Harrison, from Alexander Ward, who's dependent on the cartels to keep her seat in Alexander. Of course, Arooj Shah is all over it. Arooj, why won't you tell us about your brother, Arooj? Why has he run away? Why is he out of the country, Arooj? Oh yeah, that brother, the money launderer. Yeah, that one. These people, it won't stop with taking me out. It's too late for that. They don't understand that. It's too late for that. It's too late for that. Which is a lesson Oldham Council learnt this week. It's still ongoing, depending on how I now proceed. But remember when Oldham Council refused to answer my freedom of information requests? And said, we're not going to answer his request because of what he does with the information. And we're never going to answer his requests again. That's what, that's what they said. There's just been a judgment. It's not gone your way, has it, lads? I'm allowed to submit freedom of information requests and you are legally bound to answer them, aren't you? But by doing what you did to me, what we unleashed was an army of community activists who have been submitting their own freedom of information requests and extracting information from you. Didn't plan for that, did you? And now, what you don't plan for, what you don't understand is your mate Neil Wilby, Irish Immy, whichever gangsters, heroin dealers you want, they can come and take me out. But what has now, this can of worms, this Pandora's box that has been opened in this town, this town will never be the same again until we've cleaned up our town. And I don't need to be involved in that. There are very capable people, better set of skills than I am. Mark Wilkinson, Paul Shilton, Brian Hobin, Gary Tarbuck, Amoy, Mark Innes. There's loads of us. There's loads of people. And they will get in. This time or not. This time, next time, they will get into the council. And we will finally have councillors in the civic centre who are there to champion the people of this town, protect our children, and help clean up the corruption that has been amplified to levels never seen before because of one man. And that's the man who wants to be Prime Minister, who's dependent on the cartel-controlled bloc vote.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.